opposite to the foe. We'll stay with the
Welcome
old
back,
wherever he
America.
wants to stay.
From White Christmas.
Away from the battle spray. Because we love
But you know, that movie had a happy ending. Now the question becomes, are you dreading your Christmas office party this week? Some of you may have gotten it out of the way already, and some of you may have it tonight, or you may have it next week again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No matter how much you dread it, can you imagine having to do the Democratic National Committee holiday party? Obviously not going to be called the Christmas party, even though it's the Christmas party. They did it last night, and it was on C-SPAN. And this is, honestly, I don't know how they got anyone to come, but they did. Room was full, and our president, Joe Biden, addressed the crowd. Again, just imagine you've lost everything. You've been blown out, and you've been blown out after spending $1.5 billion, and you've got to go toast the infirm old guy and the loser. I mean, it's just a wonderful night. Everybody's going to have a blast, right? It's going to be like a wake without the tributes to the deceased. All right, the president kicks it off with an extraordinary claim. Cut number 6.
We've run a campaign that's basically scandal-free. It's hard to do in American politics these days.
All right, so how many of you had scandal-free on your bingo card for Joe Biden talking about his 2024 experience? How many of you had scandal-free? Didn't know he'd come up with that. More of the president. Cut number 18.
The one thing I've always believed about public service, and especially about the presidency, is the importance of asking yourself, have we left the country better shape than we found it? Today, I can say with every fiber of my being, with all my heart, the answer to that question is a resounding yes.
Now, I ask you, by any measure, is it a resounding yes? By any possible ruling stick. You get a ruler, you get a yardstick, you're going to measure. By what measure is America better off today than it was 4 years ago? The answer is there aren't any. Now, we had already discovered the vaccine. All right, so we already had the vaccine 4 years ago. COVID lockdowns were still in place, and the vaccine was beginning to roll out. But, of course, it was rolling out, and it became available to people as they turned 65, as soon as they turned 65 into emergency room. The crisis moment had been passed. The moment that Pfizer and Moderna came up with the mRNA vaccine. Johnson & Johnson wasn't very good, but the other ones worked, and the crisis was over. And so Joe Biden didn't do anything on that front except ignite inflation by burning up billions and billions of dollars and expending it on his pals and his buddies. So there's no measure. But they had to go on. More President Biden from the holiday party last night. The holiday party from hell. Cut number 19.
I knew what I was doing to ask her to be my vice president. I knew her. I knew of her. I knew about her. I knew her record. I trusted her. She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go.
We're not going anywhere, kid. All right. The vice president answered the bell. She, too, got up and spoke to the Democrat holiday party. Cut number, I'm looking for the first one, 7.
As a result of your leadership and your support, the National Finance Committee held more than 700 events across the country and raised nearly $700 million. An historic achievement, which without a doubt made our campaign stronger.
I want you to know it is not a historic achievement unless you win. Anyone can collect a large amount of money from the Democrat machine, about which some interesting questions have been raised by Speaker Johnson as to the source of some of the money from overseas, which we'll get to the bottom of. But you can't raise that much money and then tell everyone in the room, feel good. We blew it, but feel good. Let's go down to cut number 20. More Vice President Harris at the holiday party for the DNC last night.
Our spirit is not defeated. We are not defeated. Let's be clear about that. We are strong. We are clear about why we are in this. And because you're here right now, I say, again, thank you, because not only are you clear about all of that, you're willing to put in the hard work. And that work must continue. We cannot let any circumstance or situation or individual ever take away our power to know why we do what we do and our ability to then get that work done. And especially because we know what we stand for, and that's why we know what to fight for. We here believe in the promise of America.
Don't ever change, Vice President Harris. I'm going to play that again. That's like a 10 on the scale of the Olympic judges on the diving board of the gymnastic routine. It's almost too concentrated Kamala. My podcast is highly concentrated, Hugh. This is too concentrated Kamala. This is too on the nose. But it's a holiday party, so she saved her best stuff for the holiday party. Let's play that again, cut number 20.
Our spirit is not defeated. We are not defeated. Let's be clear about that. We are strong. We are clear about why we are in this. And because you're here right now, I say, again, thank you, because not only are you clear about all of that, you're willing to put in the hard work. And that work must continue. We cannot let any circumstance or situation or individual ever take away our power to know why we do what we do and our ability to then get that work done. And especially because we know what we stand for, and that's why we know what to fight for.
So what do you think people are thinking about in the audience when they hear this? Well, I mean, really, they're sitting there and they wrote 10,000, 100,000, $250,000, $1 million check. This is the DNC donors holiday party. It's a grim occasion. It's like going to the guillotine, and they get together, and the vice president rattles off that long string of inane phrases that reminds everyone why she is absolutely a catastrophic candidate, and there's no reality in it. And yeah, I don't know what people expect going to the DNC holiday party. Some years it's just good manners to cancel. Like say, everybody's got the flu, and we couldn't come. Because I got to tell you, the reality is Van Jones and Chris Cillizza. Now, Chris is a longtime friend of mine, and Van Jones and I have done some work before. They're usually wrong about everything, and they're lefties, but that's fine. They're just good lefties. Van Jones sat down with Chris Cillizza to do Chris's podcast. And they got to this segment, which I wish they had played at the DNC holiday party last night. This would have been more interesting than the president and the vice president. Cut number 17.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were, like, stunned. But, like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still, like, writes handwritten notes, how did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural, I don't even want to say campaign, running
it was a movement.
Look, heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. Yeah, so I mean, everybody keeps, I mean, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. and his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on Earth and in our lifetime, and we're still saying, "Well, how was this guy?" We look like idiots to ordinary.
You're totally right.
I wish they had played that. Now, see, that would have been fun if they had played that at the DNC. Generally, Simo, what do you think would have happened if they had played that at the DNC? Would they have turned the tables over? Would there have been an insurrection?
Pretty much. That would have been glorious prior to the election, right? But give Van Jones credit. He's.
I'll bet you Van Jones was not at the DNC donor dinner. I don't know that anyone. I wish they had played that last night.
Wasn't that clip from Kamala just glorious?
It's just condensed, perfect Kamala. I got to play that for people. I got to play that for Garrity next hour. All right, let me tell people about that's just it. Reflect upon no matter how bad you've got it this week, how little you want to do with your office party, you didn't have to go to the Democratic National Committee holiday party last night. So you're better off than at least some people. You didn't have to do that.